Welcome to my step-by-step guide for how to beat Elden Ring in one session without being a speedrunner. This run is designed with 3 qualities in mind. Number 1, easy enough for most players to learn. Number 2, low initial setup, so we don't have to run around the map for an hour before fighting the first boss. And number 3, a versatile build that's strong against every boss without needing to get over-leveled. This run takes me a little under 3 hours. The main goal isn't speed, but rather enjoying the boss fights, and giving you tools to avoid getting stuck. You may still need to practice bosses depending on your experience, but we'll have decent HP and lots of heals, so it's pretty forgiving. And I'll show strategies for each boss. There's also a text document in the description, so you don't have to memorize the steps. Let's get started. We'll start with the hero class and pick the golden seed as the keepsake. We'll touch First Step Grace because we'll be returning here. Then on to the Church of Ella and touch that grace too. Then head to Gatefront Ruins and rest at the grace to get Torrent.
Torrent has treated him with...
I recommend setting up your quick pouch. Then we'll head into Gatefront Ruins and to the treasure room. In the treasure room, we'll get Storm Stomp and the Whetstone Knife. Then go east and rest at Aegeo Lake North side of Grace. At the Grace, equip Storm Stomp Ash of War to your axe, then upgrade your flask and pass time to morning if you want to avoid the Knight's Cavalry. Here's the path we're about to take, across the bridge, pick up a Somber 1, then back under the bridge. Right after the bridge, here's where we can turn right to get the Somber Smithing Stone 1 on the corpse. Then immediately drop off the cliff, and we'll head back under the bridge. Under the bridge, you can pick up some fire grease if you like, and then we'll get knocked off our horse because we're getting invaded by Neregus, who will drop the Reduvia. So buff your weapon if you like, and here's the basic strategy. Storm Stomp, attack, roll back. Storm Stomp, attack, roll back. That's pretty much it, but watch out for his weapon art. If you die, no worries, it doesn't take very long to get back. You can head directly towards the cliff, and there's at least one safe spot to drop down. Here's where I like to drop down. Notice there's 3 birds on the right, and the ground is a little bit lower here. You can also back off and let Yuria help you. Between the 2 of you, you should be able to take him out, and he'll drop the Reduvia. So then immediately head towards the cave, Murkwater Cave. We'll touch the Grace and head to the boss room to fight Patches. For Patches, the easiest strategy is wait for him to do that mist attack, then do a jumping attack, and usually you can get a follow-up. Then let him surrender, and he'll drop you a few runes, and you can pop those while he finishes talking. Then talk to him some more and exhaust his dialogue. Then travel back to the Murkwater Cave Grace, level Vigor, and then return to Patch's room, use the trap chest to go to Mistwood Ruins. From the map obelisk, go southeast and get the spiked cracked tear by the minor Erd tree. Then go west a little ways to the Mistwood Ruins. Go into the treasure room, try not to touch the sleeping bear, and get the Axe Talisman. Then we'll head back to the road and follow it south to Fort Height. In the courtyard, grab the golden seed, Then we'll go inside the fort and go all the way up the ladder to the top of the tower for the first half of the Dectus Medallion. Then you can either jump off and die, or use the Memory of Grace to return to the Tree-Scratching Bear. And that's convenient because now we can follow the road north to the Third Church of Marika. So grab the Wondrous Physic, and then touch the Grace, and get the Sacred Tear. Then you can jump out the back window of the church, and into the pond behind the church, to the hidden transporter, to take us to Dragon Barrow. In Dragon Barrow, follow the road south, and get the Golden Seed along the way. And if you like, you can touch the Farm Great Bridge Grace. The dragon usually won't bother you if you just keep moving. Then after the bridge, turn left and look for a graveyard to get some runes. Then continue southwest towards the Minor Erdtree and go past it to the Spirit Spring. That'll take us to Fort Feroth. Touch the Grace, and then go into the fort, up the ladder, and grab the other half of the Dectus Medallion. And then follow this path for the Radagon Source Seal and a Golden Rune 12. So here's the Golden Rune 12. Then jump across the gap. Keep moving, watch out for the rats. And we'll grab the Source Seal. And you can either let the rats kill you or use your Memory of Grace to return to the Fort Feroth Grace. From there, head west towards this white clump you can see there in the distance. And there's a Spirit Spring. You can go down, continue down the cliff to the Church of the Plague. So get the Sacred Tear and rest at the Church of the Plague Grace. We don't need to go to Round Table Hold, but you can upgrade your flask, and if you like, you can equip your Wondrous Physic. And then we're going to warp to the Church of Ella, and you'll have to talk to Rani. But you only have to talk to her till she gives you the Spirit Calling Bell. Then you can walk away and pop all of your runes while she finishes talking. Then upgrade the Reduvia to +1, and talk to Kale about the Howling in the Mistwood. Then level Arcane to 13 and put the rest into Vigor. Then we're going to go back to the Third Church of Marika, and then south back to the Mistwood Ruins, and use the snap gesture that Kale gave you, and talk to Blythe. Exhaust his dialogue, then travel back to the first step Grace, and then we're going to go to the southernmost point of Lake Agheel. Grab the Grace, and then go up the hill towards the Everjail. And we're going to fight Darawil. Here's our setup for that. You can summon Blythe if you like, but I'm going to do it solo. So we do pretty good damage to Darawil, and the Reduvia allows you to keep a bit of distance. Or you can still use the weapon art up close and it does even more damage. And now we have the Bloodhound Fang. Then after the fight, go talk to Blythe, and he'll give you a Somber Smithing Stone too. You'll get this reward even if you don't summon him. Then exhaust his dialogue and travel back to the Church of Ella to upgrade the Reduvia to +2. Then warp to Gatefront Ruins again, and we're going to follow the path towards Stormvale Castle. On the way, get the Golden Seed, then touch the Grace by Stormhill Shack, and we'll get the Stone Sword Key near the Grace. And then we're going to follow this path to get the Strength Knot Crystal Tier. So it's just up the hill past the Giant, and then travel back to Stormhill Shack, and then we're going to follow the main path up and around to Stormvale Castle. Upgrade your flask and level up Vigor if you have any runes, and we're going to fight Margit. For Margit, I'm using a +2 Reduvia and the Radagon Soar Seal. An easier strategy is to keep a bit of distance, just close enough to hit him with the weapon art, and then for his more punishable attacks, you can hit him up close, then back away a bit, and continue the strategy. You'll still have to dodge some of his attacks, but he's less aggressive if you keep a bit of distance like this. This attack is also a good punishment opportunity, and he's already below half health. You can punish that one too, but instead we'll use a flask. And now I'm going to fight him up close more to show that strategy. For this 3-hit combo you want to dodge the last hit for sure. You can dodge into this one, or away from it is easier. And for this attack, if you're up close, you can get even more damage than usual. And Margit is down. Here's a few other attacks we didn't see yet. For this attack, you can step around him and get some punishment. You can jump over the tail swipe, which is fun. For this spinning combo, you can roll 3 times around him counterclockwise, or just roll away from him and try to dodge the last hit at least. And after Margit is down, head up towards the castle, talk to Godrick, and tell him that you're going to take the main gate. Then walk near the gate, which will trigger him to start opening it, and while he opens it, you can rest at the Grace and level Vigor. And here's the path I like to take through Stormvale Castle. So I go diagonally here. I'll show the whole path, since it can be a little tricky if you haven't done it. Mainly keep moving, watch your stamina, and sometimes you will need to dodge an attack. It's normal to get hit during this part of the run, but we have high vigor for this point in the game, so if you get hit you should be able to push on, and then heal up when you have the opportunity. Near the top of the stairs here, you can preemptively dodge, or I've seen some people jump towards the right. These birds can be annoying, but just keep moving. And we need the golden seed here. Then I like to go around the tree and against the wall. If you're against the wall, these enemies won't be as much of a threat. Then we'll get the Grace, and we'll fight Godrick the Grafted. For Godrick the Grafted, you can use a similar strategy to Margit. It's easier to keep a bit of distance, just close enough to hit him with the weapon art, and then for the more punishable attacks you can hit him up close. Like this one, you can just walk around it, and he'll miss you, and then get a lot of damage in up close. And you can jump over the double ground slam, of course. And you can get him to second phase pretty quickly. He's already at half health. In the second phase, for most of the fire attacks you want to get up close, and you can do a lot of damage. And we'll back away slightly. Another fire attack, so we'll go in. Then he's got a triple slam in the second phase. And then for the whirlwind attack, just like in the first phase, you can just walk around it and punish it. And Godrick is down. Here's a few moves we didn't see. For the thrust attack, you can roll into it and punish. And for the whirlwind attack, if you're further away, sometimes he'll send two projectiles at you. And I like to roll a bit later than it looks. Then for the 5-hit combo, you can outspace it if you want, or learn the timing. And for the 5th hit, roll a bit early towards him and you can punish it. And when he walks forward as he breathes fire, I like to punish him from behind, because right in front of him isn't quite as safe. And then when he digs into the ground and throws fire in the air, you can go right up next to him and punish. It won't hit you. The whirlwind attack can hit you without much warning, but fortunately it doesn't do much damage. With Godrick defeated, don't spend any runes except to level Dexterity to 12. And on to beautiful Liurnia. I already got the Grace and the Sacred Tear, but here's where the Sacred Tear would be, obviously. And then we're going to follow the path down between the cliffs, through the encampment, and towards the lake. Here's the Nomadic Merchant. And then check your map, and head towards the map obelisk. If you want the map, I recommend luring the enemies away first, because they can be annoying. Then continue northwest, follow the broken wall. We're going to be traveling northwest for a bit here. Get the Grace, and here's where I'm going to level up Dexterity to 12. Don't spend any other runes yet. Then we're going to continue northwest into Laskir Ruins, if that's how you pronounce it. That gazebo, we're going to come back to it, but for now, I'll pass it up. And just continue, keep the castle pretty much in front of you. And then we come to this small hill with a campfire, and this is where Patches has relocated. Here we are on the map. From Patches, we're going to buy 3 pickled fowl feet. We'll use later in the run. And then continue northwest towards the castle. And then we'll encounter Boil Prawn Shack. So here we're going to kill Bogart for the Iron Ball. His weapon can do some decent damage, but it has short range, so use spacing to your advantage. And we have the Iron Ball. That'll come in handy later in the run. Then from here we're going to go southwest slightly. And there's a small hill, and we're going to get the Dexterity Tier. So there's the Dexterity Knot crystals here. And then travel back to Laskir Ruins Grace. And now we're going to head towards the gazebo. And we'll use the transporter. This will take us to the South Raya Lucaria Gate. So touch the Grace, and then we're going to do what I think is the only skip that we have to do in the game. It's pretty easy. So go to the second golden tree, jump and then double jump at the last second, and let your horse settle before you drop off. And then we're going to continue along the cliff towards where the dragon is and the glintstone, the academy key. I recommend going up the rock there so the dragon doesn't aggro, and then you can use the map and travel back to the South Raya Lucaria Gate Grace. Then we'll enter the blue door and touch the main gate Grace. And then we're going to head north along the bridge for the Golden Seed. Then travel back to the Grace, and we're finally going to enter Raya Lucaria. You can zigzag here or roll. And then follow the right hand side and around the back to grab a Somber 3. And right here there's a Grace, but I'm going to skip that. And just keep following the level. There's pretty much only one path here. But after the bridge, we're going to turn right and go up the hill. And then right past the gravestones, we're going to drop off. And this item is the Carrion Knight set. It's a really good armor set. And then we'll take this little hidden path back to the road that we were taking before. And then continue to the big elevator. And if you have an unwelcome guest, you can... The Reduvia is really good against the dogs because it's fast. And then we'll touch the Schoolhouse Classroom Grace. Now we're going to warp back to South Raya Lucaria Gate and make that same trick jump again. This time we're going to head back under the bridge, and then we're going to head northeast towards this gazebo out in the water and take the transporter, which will take us to King's Realm. King's Realm ruins. You can go through the ruins, but I like to go to the side near the cliff. It bypasses the ruins, and you can see E.G., the giant blacksmith, up ahead. We'll make a double jump here and touch the Grace because E.G. is going to be our main blacksmith. So pop the Remembrance of the Grafted and then buy one of each somber smithing stone from E.G. Then level the Bloodhound Fang to +4 and the Reduvia to +3. Then keep talking to the giant until he talks to you about Blythe. And then you can purchase the Carrion Filigreed Crest. Now we're going to warp back to the Schoolhouse Classroom. Then level up your flask, equip the Strength and Dexterity Physic, and equip the entire Carrion Knight set. And we're ready to take on the Red Wolf. Drink your Physic, and this jumping attack is really good to punish. The Red Wolf is really fast and aggressive, but it only takes a few hits to kill him. For the projectiles, you can run sideways or dodge. Here's a 3-hit combo so we can punish the last hit. And for this attack, you want to dodge when he's at the top of his jump. Remember that the Bloodhound Fang weapon art has a follow-up with right trigger that gives you invincibility frames, like this. Here's a couple other moves. His Lunging Sweep. He's got a 3-bite combo. You can punish the 3rd bite, and then watch for a follow-up. And his 360 Sweep, you can roll into it. Sometimes he queues up 2 attacks. You just gotta do your best for those. And the Red Wolf is down. We'll keep leveling Vigor, and then head out into the courtyard. You can jump up on this fountain or whatever it is, grab the Stone Sword key, and then grab the Golden Seed in the same courtyard. Then jump onto the support here, and we're going to go past the rolling boulders. You can do it in one cycle if you take this path. The Carrion Knight can be tricky sometimes. I like to dodge past, grab the elevator, then hold block and stand near the edge to prevent the knight from getting on the elevator. And then usually the knight will just fall and die. We'll take a little damage, but no big deal. Then drink your physic and we'll fight Rennala. Rennala's first phase can be a little tedious, so here's how to get past it in one cycle if you want. As soon as she touches down, do a weapon art, then a right trigger follow-up, then another weapon art, another right trigger follow-up, then as soon as you have stamina, do another weapon art, and then walk forwards and do a light attack as soon as you have stamina. And that's it. For the second phase, the weapon art is again really strong, and you can run sideways around most of her magic. Keep applying the pressure. And since it's the wolves, they're not too much of a threat, so we're just going to stay close. And Rennala is down. So let's show a few more things. So again, you can run sideways to avoid most of her magic, and you can also do that to kite the summons out and then go back in to get some damage in, because she's less aggressive when the summons are around. Like before, we'll just run sideways. A little too late there. Now with the dragon, if you stay close, the fire breath should miss you. After you defeat Rennala, touch the Grace and level Vigor, even though I didn't show that, and then travel to the main academy gate and use the blue seal to the north to travel to Bellum Highway. At Bellum Highway, go left and grab the Grace. Then go east towards the cliff and look for the platforms that you can drop down. We're going to drop down all the way to the lake. Or I think you can just jump off and die because there's a Stake of Marika, so you'll just respawn at the bottom anyway. Then once you're at the bottom, go southeast along the bottom of the cliff. Keep left until you find the Raya Lucaria Crystal Tunnel. There it is on the map. And then just go through the level, down the elevators. Equip the Iron Ball. Even though it's unupgraded, it's pretty strong for this area. If you get an unwelcome visitor, just greet them with charged heavy attacks. And then we're going to fight the Crystallion for the Smithing Stone bearing 1. And our sophisticated strategy against this boss is Bonk. Charged heavy attacks and jumping attacks for the win. So not too difficult of a fight with this weapon. And then warp back to the Grace. And then we're going to head north towards Bellum Church. Grab the Sacred Tear, and then we're going to continue to the Grand Lift of Dectus, but I recommend approaching on the right side because of those catapults, or trebuchets, whatever they are. So stay right on the cliff, and then you can drop down, and we're going to take the Grand Lift to Altus Plateau. So first I'll show on the map what we're about to do. Go left and grab the Altus Plateau Grace, then go to Lux Ruins for the Ritual Sword Talisman, then warp back to the Grace, go to the next Grace, and then go to the church for a Sacred Tear, then to Old Altus Tunnel for some Somber Smithing Stones, then warp back, then go to the next Grace, and then we're going to go to the Sealed Tunnel for the Smithing Stone bearing 2, warp back, then on to the next Grace, and we'll be ready to fight the Draconic Tree Sentinel. So, as I showed on the map, we're going to get the Altus Plateau Grace, and then head to Lux Ruins. So this boss shouldn't be too difficult. Just stay close and most of the attacks won't hit you. And you can kill her in a few hits, and we get the Ritual Sword Talisman. Then travel back to the Grace, and just take in the majestic beauty of Altus Plateau. So get the Highway Junction Grace, level Vigor, unless you reach 40, in which case level Dexterity instead. And then we'll head north for a Golden Seed. And then from the map obelisk, here's the path that we can take to the church. Go northwest, drop down the cliff, and just keep going straight. Drop down another cliff, and here's the second Church of Marika. Grab the Sacred Tear, and then jump out the window to the right. Try not to get stuck on the gravestones. And then we'll go through the graveyard, and there's a spirit spring on the other side, and we can drop down. And then just hug the cliff until you reach Old Altus Tunnel. Use the Stone Sword keys, and then here's the path we'll take to get 4 different somber smithing stones. So turn right after you enter and go up the ladder. And then make a left behind this shed. We'll get our Somber 6. Then go back the way you came, and just drop down on top of this shed. And then go inside that same shed for another Somber. Then we're going to go behind that shed, and a little further back. And against the wall is our 3rd Somber. And by now a few enemies may have caught up with you. If you get blocked in the tunnel, you could just go back into the larger room to get around the enemy more easily. And then we go to the opposite side behind the other shed for our final Somber. And then you can either die or use your Memory of Grace. I said, use your Memory of Grace. Okay, so we're back at the Altus Highway Junction Grace. And then we're going to continue up the stairs, the grand stairs, but approach from the side, otherwise you might get hit by the ballista. And once you're past the ballista, then I like to just go down the middle, straight down the middle, and the archers miss you. And continue to the Outer Wall Phantom Tree Grace. And then from the map obelisk, here's the path that we can take to the sealed tunnel. So we'll just head east, down the cliff, and then drop off to the right when it's safe. And then just continue to the end of the pond, and you'll find the tunnel. There's a lot of illusory walls here, so roll through that first illusory wall, and then keep right and just break through the rubble. And on the right side there's a chest with the smithing stone bearing 2. And then right behind the chest there's another illusory wall we can roll through. Go down the elevator, then through another wall, yet another illusory wall, and then we'll take the ladder down. On that tree branch you can see the item there is a pickled foulfoot. If you want it, we don't really need it. And then you need to get past the Iron Virgin. Just roll past it, and there's a Somber 5. And then you can die or warp back. That brings us back to the Outer Wall Phantom Tree Grace. Then continue northeast up the stairs for 2 more golden seeds. And then continue north to the Outer Wall Battleground Grace. And now we're going to talk to Melina, because we want to travel to Round Table Hold finally. In Round Table Hold, you can pop the Remembrance of the Full Moon Queen and level up both the Reduvia and Bloodhound Fang to +6. And then visit Enya the Finger Reader to get another talisman pouch. Then we'll travel back to the Outer Wall Battleground. Level up if you can. Again, once Vigor is 40, then level Dexterity instead. Then upgrade your flasks as much as you can. And then we're going to continue to the Draconic Sentinel. To avoid the giant archers, I like to go left, closer to the cliff, and we'll head towards the Draconic Sentinel. Before you fight him, I recommend quitting out and reloading, because a lot of times that giant archer will still shoot at you during the boss fight, so we'll quit out. Here's my setup for the Draconic Sentinel. I like to use both weapons, and if you do, you might need to swap an armor piece so that you can still medium roll. Drink your physic. I'm still using the strength and dexterity tiers. And with the Bloodhound Fang, I like to start with mostly charged heavy attacks until we get a stagger. Or with the Reduvia, you can hit him up close with the weapon art for a lot of damage and a bleed proc. And for this fight, I like to swap between weapons. When I'm further away, I'll use the Reduvia weapon art, because you can punish him in between the fireball attacks, which is pretty cool, because he does that attack a lot. You just have to time it right. Then when he comes towards you, dodge to the shield side, swap to the Bloodhound Fang, and use the weapon art. For this attack, check the ground to make sure you're safe. And then we'll dodge to the shield side again, swap to the Bloodhound Fang, and use the weapon art. If you time the weapon art, you can avoid his attack just using your weapon art. For this attack, you want to dodge at the last moment, and you can punish it. And for this one, dodge towards the first swing and then run away for the second. You can dodge the second, but you got to be careful about that one. And that's the Draconic Sentinel down. So now we'll continue to the capital city. Go through the royal capital as usual until you reach the fire-breathing gargoyle, and then we'll jump off to the right onto the golden rooftops, and run along the rooftops until you reach the avenue. Then we'll go southwest along the avenue. The avatar will drop down. You can go past and then turn right into the doorway. And then grab the Avenue Balcony Grace. And we'll level up. Since Vigor is at 40, we're just going to level Dexterity for now. Then continue to the area with the archer, and we'll turn left and go along the side here, jump onto the rooftop, and then jump into the well. And you can just go straight through this area until you reach the subterranean shunning grounds. So drop down, and there's a grace here on the left if you want it, but we'll skip it. And here's the path you can take for a Somber Smithing Stone 7, and optionally the Haligdrake Talisman. So there's the Somber 7, and you could just die or warp back, but I'm going to show the path to the Haligdrake Talisman. That Scarab is a Somber 7, but we don't really need it. So the Haligdrake Talisman, I didn't end up using it this run, but because of the Holy Damage Negation, it's good for Morgott, Maliketh, Radagon, and Elden Beast. So there's an illusory wall here, then another one, and the talisman is right here. Then we'll warp back to the Avenue Balcony Grace. Then I'm going to fight the tree avatar because it drops the Lord rune. You can kill it pretty quickly. I like to use charged heavy attacks with the Bloodhound Fang for a stagger. You can jump over this attack and punish him with a jumping heavy attack. There's our Lord rune. Then we're going to warp to Fort Faroth, and then travel to Dragonbarrow West Grace, and then get a Somber 8 and 9 near the Divine Tower. Then back to the Grace, and we'll go to Caelem Ruins, and nearby we'll get the Great Sword from the wagon. So here's that path. I won't show the whole thing, but basically we go past the dragon and go west until you come to a lake. Just go through the lake, and there's a map obelisk. That's a good reference point. And from here, just keep following the road, and under this tree branch is a grace. So grab the grace because we can warp back here. Then we're going to head right towards the Divine Tower there. And on this tree branch is a scarab with a Somber 8. And then go towards the Divine Tower. Drop down onto the branches. And then I probably could have just dropped straight down again, but I went around. And there's the Somber 9. Then warp back to Dragonbarrow West Grace. And then we're going to turn around and go southwest into Caelid. Jump over the chasm. Here's the Caelem Ruins Grace. And over there in the black wagon is the Greatsword. The reason we get the Greatsword is to prevent this from happening. In the context of a run like this, Gideon can be the most frustrating boss in the game if things go wrong. But if you use a Greatsword with Giant Hunt, it can shut him down pretty effectively. You'll see what I mean later. Plus, it doesn't take much extra time and it's a cool weapon. Here you'll need to crouch, otherwise the bird on the right might see you. And if you take that path, you can loot the Greatsword without anything seeing you. Then warp to Iji, pop your Lord rune, and we'll level the Reduvia to +8. You could get it to +9, but I recommend saving that for the Bloodhound Fang. Then we'll level Dexterity. Then we're going to warp to the Church of the Plague, and from there, we're going to go down, drop off the cliff, we'll grab a golden seed over here, and then we'll get the Grace by the Great Bridge, and then we'll go west for the Cragblade Ash of War, and then on to fight Radahn. So here's that path. We'll turn left out of the church and down the hill. And then you can see that big white clump in the distance. That's where we're heading. There's also a giant nearby. And you can drop down the cliff safely over here. Then continue southwest along the road, and then grab the map, and from there you can go downhill southeast and grab a golden seed. Then continue towards Redmane Castle, grab the Grace, and from here you can go west to the rocks, and on top of the rocks there's a scarab with Cragblade Ash of War. So after you get Cragblade, then we're going to use the transporter near the bridge, and we'll join the Radahn Festival.
Are you good and prepare a festival?
And here's our setup for Radahn. Drink your physic, and let's take him down. So immediately hop on Torrent and gallop away from Radahn. Go sideways if you need to avoid an arrow, and then go back towards him. This will temporarily despawn him, and then when you come back, he won't be targeting you anymore. And this allows you to approach him a lot more easily without the arrows. So here's an approach where we stay close to him. This is a good opening for that. So we'll stay near his feet and just hit him with the weapon art. I should have been a little bit more behind him because I got hit there, but no big deal, we can take a few hits. And then he'll always do this move. And then here, when he does the gravity pull, you can roll that, then punish once or twice, and then go behind him to avoid the explosion. And we're in second phase. So check the sky for the fireball. There it is. And should be able to finish him off pretty quickly, especially if we get a bleed proc. There it is. So I actually like to fight Radahn from a bit further away because it's just cooler, you can see his moves better. Some people might find it easier because you can see what he's doing. Here's a 4-hit combo. You can punish him at the end of most of his combos. And just like before, he'll do this move. When he does the gravity pull, you can roll it, then punish once or twice, then go behind him to avoid the AoE. You can also iframe the AoE if you're brave. In the second phase, here's a few moves to watch for. You can roll to one side and then the other to avoid the orbs, and then jump a bit on the late side to avoid the ground attack. You can roll that, and then I like to roll a bit late for his final landing. Seems to work for me. Then for this attack, I sprint away for a bit, and then roll sideways, because he'll usually combo 2 attacks. And Radahn is down. So we'll pop his Remembrance, level Dexterity, and then I don't want to talk about this part. But we want the Warrior Jar Shard. Then travel back to the Avenue Balcony Grace. Then when you come to the area with the Archer, we'll turn right this time. And go along the side, and I like to wait for this Knight to turn so he doesn't block us. Then climb up the Dragon Wing as usual. And just proceed through the area, touch the West Capital Rampart Grace, then go forwards to the courtyard with the Golden Seed. Now that gargoyle can be a pain. If he kills you or knocks you off the branch, no big deal though, because we got the Grace, and if you go behind him, he won't aggro. After climbing the tree branches, we can face Golden Godfrey. I like to stay close, and roll or strafe to the right. The Reduvia is fast, so we can fit a lot of attacks in between his. This boss has one of the most fair and well-telegraphed movesets in the game, and it's really enjoyable in my opinion. So it's worth practicing and mastering if you haven't already, and also this will help when we face his true form in the end game. If you're aggressive, you'll probably even get a stagger, even though we're only using a knife. And farewell to Golden Godfrey. 'Twas nobly fought. Level dexterity, and then go up the tree branch here. If the Black Knife assassin bothers you, you can just lure him away from the grace, and then you can grab it. And we'll face Morgott the Omen King. Equip the Warrior Jar Shard. First, I'll use an easier strategy of keeping some distance and watching for his more punishable openings. You can sneak in some extra hits here and there if you want, but here's one of his more punishable openings. Hit him up close with the weapon art for a ton of damage, and when he summons the golden swords in the air, you can just keep attacking, and you'll knock him out of it by triggering the phase change. At the end of the phase change, you can hit him a few more times. Here's another good punishable attack. Roll twice, then hit him back. And this time when he summons the golden swords in the air, we can't interrupt it with the phase change, so I got away. And here's another good punishable opening. And Morgott is defeated. Here's another move you can punish. This jumping attack gives you a good opportunity. And for this move, I like to double roll back at the last second. Now here's a strategy where I'm more aggressive and stay up close, and I'm purposely not using the weapon art. It's a little more risky, but I enjoy it. And again, we can interrupt the golden sword move by triggering the phase change. And if you're up close when he starts this move, you can punish him even more than if you were further away. If he starts this multi-hit combo when you're close to him, I recommend rolling around and past him. And then we can go in for a punish. And that's pretty much it. After you defeat Morgott, touch the thorns, then talk to Melina, and level dexterity, but not past 40. Then warp to the Avenue Balcony Grace. At the Avenue, we'll turn left and follow it all the way to the gate, which will take us out of the capital. As you go up the stairs, you'll see an item on that hill. That's the Exalted Flesh. We'll grab that for later. So after you get the Exalted Flesh, continue up the stairs to the elevator. After the elevator, go up some stairs and then look for the Flame Drake Talisman on the left. And just continue straight until we reach another elevator down. And that'll take us to the Forbidden Lands. Just go straight through the Forbidden Lands, but keep an eye out for this area, because on the right you'll see a giant skull, and in the teeth of that skull is a somber smithing stone 7 that we want. And then from there we can go and get a golden seed. Then just continue to the Grand Lift of Rold. The Grand Lift of Rold takes us to Mountaintop of the Giants. And the first area we encounter is the Zamor Ruins, and we're going to go to the treasure room here, where we will find the smithing stone bearing 3. And here it is on the map. It's about there. And then just continue through this pass, just the normal route to progress. and we'll go across the large Chain of Rocks bridge. If you keep galloping on Torrent and you drop down here, the giant archer should miss you, and you can just keep going. And we'll go for this scarab to get the Somber Smithing Stone 8. Then we'll go around and up across this little rock bridge. And then when you get to the frozen river, turn right and follow the river. And if we look to the right there, there's actually another golden seed, but you don't really need it unless you missed one earlier. And you can get the grace here if you want by the freezing lake. And then we are going to go southeast across the freezing lake. In the distance there you can see the Church of Marika. So head straight for that and look at where your compass is pointing, because pretty soon you'll lose visibility. So just use your compass and just run past the dragon, and we get to the Church of Marika for another sacred tier. Then we'll continue towards that cliff and take the Spirit Spring. Then we'll keep to the left and head towards that fort. So just run through the fort to the other side and you'll find a chain bridge. We'll go across this, and on the other side we've got a grace and a map obelisk. There's an item we'll be getting that's hard to find on that cliff near the small tree at the tip of my helmet. It's the Crimson Whirl Bubble Tier. It's about there on the map. But we can't get up there from here, so we'll just take the normal path to the foot of the Forge Grace. So just go through the area as normal, keep to the left. Again, we'll keep left, and when the giant hand enemy drops down from the sky, you'll know you're close to the foot of the Forge Grace. So we'll grab the grace, and then head west to the church for one final sacred tier. You can just let the invader kill you. Here's the path we're about to take to get the Crimson Whirl Bubble Tier. First we'll get a golden seed from there, then around and down the hill, and there's a giant hand enemy there. And then here's a hidden path along the cliff, and the Crimson Whirl Bubble Tier is there. You can see I died at that spot. That map footage was from later since I forgot to record. I'll go ahead and show the whole route, because at least for me it was hard to find it my first time, but if you already know where it is, feel free to skip ahead. Or maybe you don't want the Crimson Whirl Bubble Tier. It is optional. The reason I like to get it is because, as you might know, it completely counteracts Elden Stars, which is one of Elden Beast's most annoying attacks in my opinion. But if you're confident avoiding Elden Stars without it, then feel free to skip it. So you can tell we're in the right place because of all the little hand enemies. And there's this narrow hidden path. And at the end, there's the bubble tier. And then might as well show you the spot that we were looking up from, near the grace and the obelisk. There it is. Warp to Iji, use the Remembrance of the Omen King, and level the Bloodhound Fang to +9. Then go back to Foot of the Forge, level up your flasks, and we're going to take on the Fire Giant. At this point, we'll equip the Gold Pickled Foul Feet to our quick items, and remember to pop one as soon as the giant dies. Those are the talismans I like, but you could also consider the Flame Drake Talisman or the Axe Talisman. When you see the boss health bar, drink your Physic. Usually the boss opens with the Snow Shovel attack. You can dismount to avoid it, although it is easier to avoid it on foot. And then control your camera so you can see what the boss is doing. I recommend trying to fight without lock-on. And we're going to go straight for his left ankle, because it takes more damage. Not just the foot, but the ankle itself. You'll be able to tell because there's a different sound and you do more damage. Like this last hit that I do was only the foot, so it did less damage. So watch for that. And then use Torrent to chase him down. And we'll keep hitting that ankle. So I'm pointing my camera up to see what he's doing. And then we get a stagger, and that'll take us into the second phase. In the second phase, I'm going to go for charged heavy attacks until we get another stagger. It will take quite a few attacks, because we just got a stagger before the phase change, but we can do it. And one reason you might want to do this is because if you can hit his eye with the full weapon art, it'll do a ton of damage, as you're about to see. So there's the stagger. I'll do a weapon art on the eye and a right trigger follow-up. Now the strategy I like for second phase is to stay close to the giant and trigger melee attacks. But when he does that eruption, it is safer to get away. Although you could go underneath him if you want to, it's a little more risky. Here's some of the fire attacks he does. So when he shoots the fireballs from his hands, double roll at the last second, and then you can trigger these to explode when it's safe, and sprint away to avoid the explosion. And now we're going to stay close to him to trigger the melee hand attacks, because hitting the giant's hand will do a lot of damage. I like to hit the hand with the weapon art. And we'll keep doing that, go close. Here I should have paused to get my stamina back, because the reason I got hit there is I ran out of stamina. And there it is. Don't forget to pop the Pickled Foul Foot. If you forget, it's okay, just don't forget for the next two bosses. If he does this eruption attack and you haven't got a stagger yet, you could go next to him and keep doing charged attacks. You might still get hit, but often it's okay. I think I should have been in front of him more because I got stuck behind him when he staggered, so I didn't get to the eye in time to do much damage. But it's okay, you don't have to get a stagger and you don't have to hit the eye. Look at how much damage we do to his hands, just with the weapon art. So that's the main strategy I recommend for the second phase. Watch for this follow-up when he does that 2-hit combo. It's a slightly delayed attack. And when he does this AoE, just check the ground, and if it's safe, you can keep attacking. When he does the projectile attack, I recommend double rolling towards him at the last second, because again, going towards him will trigger the melee attacks. And when the fire giant is down, we'll go to the Foot of the Forge Grace, level dexterity until 40, and then we'll just level strength. Then talk to Melina. And because of Melina's sacrifice, we've reached Crumbling Farm Azula. Run through the level as normal until you get to this room with the 3 coffins. Then we'll make a right to go through the temple and follow this path to the next grace. I actually already got this grace, and then I had to re-record this segment of the run. But we're going to go left and drop off this rock. Ooh, that was close. And just go through the level as normal. There's a Somber 9 here. I didn't end up using it, but if you want to fully upgrade the Reduvia, then that could be useful. Touch the Dragon Temple Grace. For the Godskin Duo, I recommend the Spiked Cracked tier, because it goes with the strategy I'm going to show. And instead of the Carrion Filigreed Crest, I'll use the Axe Talisman. And here's my setup. Sleep Pots are good against the Duo, of course, or you can summon Bernal, but I'm going to show a strategy that doesn't require either one, and it's pretty easy and pretty consistent. So I'm not going to attack the Apostle at all, and that's important because that way the Apostle won't be very aggressive and you can focus on the Noble. You don't even have to know his entire moveset, although it certainly helps. We can punish that thrust attack. I probably shouldn't have gone for a follow-up, but it's okay, we can take a hit. So I like to punish that thrust attack, or you can punish the fireball attack, or anything else that you feel comfortable punishing. We only need about 3 weapon arts, and then once he's below half health, just run away, because there'll be the phase transition, and you should have time to get behind a pillar. Pick one that isn't too close to him. Then we're going to lock on, do a charged heavy attack, back up a little bit. You don't want to be too close or it'll hit you. And then after the 3rd attack, that should kill him, and then hit the air 2 more times to do some more damage. Because there's a lingering hitbox after they die, and you can still deal damage to their collective health bar. And then I'm not going to attack the Apostle because we don't want him to become more aggressive. And pretty soon the Apostle should summon another Noble, and we can just repeat the strategy. So there's the fireball attack, which we can punish easily. So the Noble is below half health, so we don't have to wait around for anything. We can just go find a pillar, and the Noble will come to us. So here's an example of when the strategy, when I mess up the strategy a bit, but we can still recover. So that was fine. Here I was a little bit too far back, which is better than being too close, but I missed. But the weapon art kills him, and we do a follow-up in the air to do more damage. And we'll only need 1 more cycle. In fact, I probably could have just done a follow-up there and ended the fight, but I was feeling a bit more cautious. And there it is. Don't forget to pop the pickled Foulfoot. Now you could also summon Bernal. Bernal is actually really strong against the Godskin Duo. I recommend quitting out and reloading before you summon. That way, if anyone's chasing you, they don't interfere with the summoning. And I like to use the same strategy. I'll just focus on the Noble. But Bernal can do a lot of damage and can help you stagger them quickly. And you can even still use that strategy to counter the Noble's rolling attack. Or just stand on top of the pillar if the Noble is rolling all over the place, and you should be safe. And once it's only one of them, you can just bully them. Like, you can just wait around and spawn kill them. And notice how quickly we can stagger the Noble. So yeah, forget about Sleep Pots, just summon Bernal. So level Strength, and then we're going to go north from the Grace, out the door, and continue through the level as normal. And when you get to this area with the statues on the left, we're going to turn right, and just jump across the broken rubble. And pretty soon you can turn around and that item is the Dragon Crest Shield Talisman. And that one could be useful. Pretty good damage negation. And then once you get to the area with the Crucible Knight, of course, we'll go to the right and jump off the balcony and grab the Grace. And then we're going to go for a nice relaxing walk. Totally worth it. And the dragon should fly away at this point, and then we can proceed through the level as normal. And we'll make a left up here, and then when you get to the top of the hill, make a right, and then go across this bridge. And turn right and go into the temple, and up to the elevator. And this will take us to the Besides the Great Bridge Grace. Warp to Iji, and we can upgrade the Bloodhound Fang to +10, and the Reduvia to +9 if you want, although personally I didn't use it anymore. Then pop the Remembrance of the Fire Giant, and we can level Strength. Here's my setup for Beast Clergyman Maliketh. First, I'll use an easier strategy against Beast Clergymen. We'll keep a bit of distance and wait for 2 specific attacks that are easier to punish. Here's one of them. Run towards him, jump, and do a jumping heavy attack. Be ready to dodge afterwards. And here's the other. Run right up next to him and do 2 light attacks. You don't have to roll that one if you react quickly enough and if you stay in the middle, right in front of him. If you do roll it, you might only be able to get 1 hit to punish. And here's that attack again. Run right up next to him in the middle. And here's the other attack. We can jump and do a jumping heavy attack. And for this attack, watch the ground to make sure you're standing in a safe spot. And we can punish this one again. And that ends his first phase. Now here's a more aggressive strategy where we stay close to him. And I'm only punishing the rock spray attack, plus the attacks that we were already punishing in the previous strategy. So it does take some practice to get used to his moveset when you're fighting him up close, but it's fun, I think. So we can jump and do a jumping and heavy attack like with the other strategy. And like with the other strategy, we can go right up under him. And one benefit of this strategy is you might get a stagger. Now this attack might seem unreactable, that double swipe, but there is a tell. Here it is in slow motion. So not the stab, but right here he raises his sword and pauses for a second, then does the double swipe. You want to delay your roll a bit so that you can avoid both of the hits. And this brings us to Maliketh. Take a few steps backwards, and as soon as the sword swings past, go up to Maliketh and hit him with 2 charged heavy attacks. You need to be quick so you can stagger him before he jumps away. Then take the critical hit. Then follow with a weapon art, and Maliketh is dead. Sometimes when you get the stagger, Maliketh will face the other way, but it's alright, you have time to run around to the other side and still get the critical hit. And if the first weapon art doesn't kill him, do a right trigger follow-up before he jumps away, and it still works out. Now, if you don't manage to stagger him before he jumps away, then you need to be ready to dodge some of his attacks. So like here, when he plunges the sword into the ground, you need to roll twice, but I mistimed it. But it's okay. Go right up to him and do charged heavy attacks, and you should be able to stagger him pretty quickly. And once you do, the fight is over. Now personally, I prefer to fight him without charged heavy attacks, because then you get to enjoy more of his moveset, like this 4-hit combo. It takes practice like any boss, of course. But with Maliketh, you can go right up to him, and if you're up close, most of his melee attacks will miss, and you can just counterattack instead of dodging. For the projectiles, dodge the projectile itself and not the swing of the sword. And sometimes he plunges the sword into the ground, and you need to roll that twice in a row. For this attack, roll 3 times towards him and to the side. And here's the double 360. If you get hit, don't panic. Wait until it's safe to heal. So like we'll double roll this sword slam and then heal. Sometimes he delays the second AoE of the sword slam, and you can roll a 3rd time or just delay your roll. And here's this attack again that we need to triple roll. And with Maliketh dead, pop your pickled Foulfoot, and that brings us to the Ashen Capital. So grab the Grace, but don't level up or spend your runes yet. Instead, travel to East Raya Lucaria Gate, pass time until night, and kill the Knight's Cavalry for the Giant Hunt Ash of War. Then go to Round Table Hold, and we have enough runes from killing Maliketh to buy 12 of every smithing stone. So buy 12 of each, and then upgrade the Great Sword to plus 24. Put Giant Hunt on it, and choose the Quality Affinity. Then you can pop the Remembrance of Maliketh if you want, and level up. At this point, we want to have at least 30 strength and 40 dexterity. As long as you have that, you can put points into whatever else you want. I'll get some endurance. And we want the Spike Cracked tier and the Strength Not Crystal tier. At the tip of my helmet is the tower where we can fight Gideon. The setup is important for this strategy. We've got a quality plus 24 greatsword with Giant Hunt, and we need to equip the Exalted Flesh, and we removed enough armor to medium roll. And here's the physic. We've got the Spiked Cracked tier and the Strength Not Crystal tier. We've also got 30 strength and 40 dexterity. So stop at about the second candelabra, take your Wondrous Physic, use the Exalted Flesh, make sure you're two-handing the Greatsword, then go right up to Gideon and do 2 charged heavy attacks. Then do 2 Giant Hunt weapon arts. And that should kill him. This strategy is pretty reliable, but it is possible to mess it up. If that happens and you have to face him again, I recommend the Carrion Filigreed Crest instead of the Axe Talisman, because we don't want to run out of FP. So this time you might have to dodge some of his attacks. But use Giant Hunt as soon as it's safe. Unfortunately, I was too far away. Here we go. So now we should be able to shut him down. When he falls with 2 thud sounds, and I like to press the weapon art button right after the second thud, unless you have to regen stamina, of course. And that should do it. And now we'll proceed to the final 2 bosses. So next we are going to buy 12 of each smithing stone again from the runes we got from killing Gideon, and level the Iron Ball to plus 24. Put the Ash of War Crag Blade on it with heavy affinity, then warp to Aguil Lake South. At the tip of my helmet you can see a little enemy there on the cliff. Looks unassuming, but as you might know, this enemy turns into a rune bear. Still no big deal at our level. And we kill the rune bear to get a larval tier. And now we can warp to Rennala and respec. I recommend 40 Vigor and 20 Endurance, and put the rest into Strength. And now we face the true form of Godfrey, the first Elden Lord. Two-hand the Iron Ball, drink your Physic, use Cragblade, and let's do this. It doesn't always go that perfectly for me, of course, but the strategy is to use only charged heavy and jumping heavy attacks, and if you're quick enough, you can stagger this boss in just 4 of those. Here I was too close, and here I shouldn't have tried to punish that. I also should have counted how many hits it took to stagger him, because if you can do it in only 4 hits, then you can go for this extra attack before you take the critical, but since it took 5, I shouldn't have done that. We'll see why in a second. Now at this health threshold, he'll always do this move, so we're safe to heal. And notice it only took 1 hit to put him into second phase, and that's not ideal because now it'll take 3 more hits to stagger him, and I just missed 1 of them already, so that's why I should not have gone for the extra hit after the critical. And now because it's taking more time, it's going to take more hits to stagger him. Fortunately though, we've already gotten him to another health threshold, and he'll always do this move. So at this point, we should be able to get enough hits to stagger him, and there's nothing he can do. So the strategy is somewhat forgiving. It can also be fun to purposely not use charged heavy attacks, because then the fight is more interactive, and you'll see more of the boss moveset. And this can also be good if you feel like you need to get more familiar with this boss. The first phase is pretty similar to the golden version though, except this move is new. Now you can actually dodge through the lava if you want, but it does require precise timing. So otherwise it's pretty similar. I like to stay close and dodge towards the right. For Hoarah, you can use the same strategy, but it can be a little more tricky. We won't take the stagger because we need to see more of the moves. Like this one. He's got a lot of grabs, and they're pretty good to punish. There, I should have rolled. So you can roll with him for that grab attack if you want to be in position to punish. Now if you get stuck close to him when he starts his big combo attack, you can roll towards and past him. You might find it easier to keep some distance and let Hoarah come to you, wait for the more punishable grab attacks. When he roars, he might do the lava attack, so dodge, then jump, and then run back. And here's a good grab attack to punish. With Godfrey Hoarah defeated, you can pop his remembrance, level up, and I recommend equipping the Crimson Whirl Bubble Tier. Then we'll face our final fight. Here's my setup. You could also consider the Haligdrake Talisman for holy damage negation. And here are my final stats at level 90. And now we fight Radagon of the Golden Order. Here's an example of the fight not going quite so well. Like Godfrey, we can stagger Radagon with 4 charged heavy attacks. There I mistimed my roll. And here I jumped too early. But we still get the stagger, and that should push his health low enough to trigger the triple hammer slam. Here I walk forwards too early. For the first 2 slams you can roll early and punish with a regular heavy attack. And for the 3rd slam, circle around and roll late. Then you should be able to finish him off. Here's a longer fight to show more of Radagon's moves. For the grab attack, you can jump over it and do a jumping heavy attack. For the triple hammer slam, if you're further away, you can roll a bit on the late side. Works pretty well for me. And here's some of his ranged attacks. Radagon is defeated, but it's not over yet. Use Cragblade and heal if you need to. For Elden Beast, it takes 5 charged heavy attacks to stagger it. I like to stand about there, pretty far back. That way the 3rd hit still makes contact. Then walk back some more as your stamina regens, and go for 2 more charged heavies. That should stagger it. You can fit in up to 3 more charged heavies before taking the critical, but here I just went for 2. Then we'll do another hit, and if you position yourself right, you can get 1 more hit as the Elden Beast swims away. For this attack I sprint, and I'll change directions if I start taking damage. Jump over the Ring of Light. I jumped a little bit too early, but I still managed to roll out in time. And now we've gotten Elden Beast health low enough to trigger Elden Stars. So drink the Crimson World Bubble Tier, but don't drink it too soon because we want it to last. And notice that I'm not taking any damage from Elden Stars. That means we can focus on avoiding Elden Beast's other attacks. And Elden Beast should only do Elden Stars once per fight, as long as the fight doesn't go too long. Then we can run sideways to avoid the breath attack. And for this attack, it seems like you need to either be close or far away to avoid it. I haven't been able to dodge it at mid-range. And for the melee attacks, you can usually avoid them just by being close enough to Elden Beast. If you're right up against it, then you can just counterattack without dodging. And Elden Beast is defeated. Here's a few more attacks, like this 4-hit combo. And here's a 5-hit melee combo. It looks really similar to this other attack, but notice that with this attack the sword is straight up and down. And that one is more of an explosion that you just want to get away from. And that fist pound looks a lot like the Nebula attack. And here's the explosion. This one's not too hard to dodge. Here's the grab attack, it's delayed. And here's how you can avoid Elden Stars even without the physic. It's hard to avoid taking damage, and I don't really have any foolproof strategy. Usually I just try to keep moving and change direction if I start taking damage. Watch for Elden Beast's other attacks, try not to run out of stamina. And with that, you've done it. You have become Elden Lord. I hope this guide has been helpful. Thank you so much for watching.